You are the most important relationship. Before you swipe, text, or worry about being too much, start with you. Grow Therapy helps you build self-worth, set boundaries, and show up as your full self. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. And if something comes up, you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance at no cost. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans, including Medicaid in some states. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/booknow to get started. That's growtherapy.com/booknow. growtherapy.com/booknow. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
So, when I ask, what does Odoo? What comes to mind? Well, Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a suite of business management software that some people say is like fertilizer because of the way it promotes growth. But some people also say Odoo is like a magic beanstalk because it grows with your company and is also magically affordable. But then again, you could look at Odoo in terms of how its individual software programs are a lot like building blocks. I mean, whatever your business needs. Manufacturing, accounting, HR programs, you can build a custom software suite that's perfect for your company. So, what is Odoo? Well, I guess Odoo is a bit of everything. Odoo is a fertilizer, magic beanstalk building blocks. For business. Yeah, that's it. Which means that Odoo is exactly what every business needs. Learn more and sign up now at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
I Should Be Writing, Season 22, Episode 5.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft, but I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hi there, welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is a podcast for wannabe fiction writers, and I'm your host, Mer Lafferty. I've been writing professionally since 2011 and podcasting since 2004, so been doing it a while. And if you ever get advice from people online, make sure they have credentials, because I'm going to start talking about writing in a minute, so we'll do that. I usually start with what I've been up to. I have been fretting about my book a lot, and then I remembered that the way I work through things is actually having to sit down and write, even if I don't keep those words. So yesterday I got about 2,000 words in, so I felt good about that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Had to be away last week to help a family member, and so I'm back now. But I have with me Olivia Waite, author of Murder by Memory, and the book that's coming out next week, which is Nobody's Baby. I'm holding it up to the camera. You can see this on YouTube later if you're listening to it. So I'm just very excited to have Olivia on. Hello, Olivia.
Hello, hi Mer, and hi everyone. It's good to be here.
Yeah, you want to hear something funny? I got contacted by your publicist with Murder by Memory when it came out, and I didn't get a chance to get you on the schedule. So I have an arc of Murder by Memory, and then because I have no brain, a couple of months later, I went to the bookstore and saw your book and thought, that looks good, and I bought it. And then now your publicist got in touch with me and says, you want to talk about Nobody's Baby? I said, sure. And so they sent me another Murder by Memory. So,
oh no,
I have given your book out to a couple of friends, and, but it was just so funny. Once I started, I was cleaning up a lot of the books I have around here, and I'm like, I should not have 3 copies of this. But, it is fun. Everyone knows how much I like space murder, and we've got a sort of hotel detective kind of character here dealing with space murder. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the books, and then we'll get into one of the big things I want to talk to you about, which is beginnings. But give us the sense of the books first.
Well, these started because it was the early pandemic and everybody was locked down and it felt like we were all living in separate little spaceships for a while. I needed a new writing project to get excited about. I'd just finished a romance series. And then I was watching every murder mystery I could get my hands on. And I was thinking about all the Wodehouse books I loved growing up. And then I saw somebody on Twitter go, hey, why aren't there more murder mysteries set on generation ships? Isn't that a perfect little locked room? It doesn't get more locked than Deep Space. And I'm like, oh, and so the Wodehouse cruise ship and the spaceship and the murder mystery just kind of fused in my head. And my brain went, I know exactly what that sounds like. And I sat down and started asking myself questions about how that would work and what kind of murder that would be, and adding just a lot of different fun elements. And it was one of the quickest, most fun writing experiences I've ever had. It was just a little game like I was playing with myself. And so Dorothy was born kind of sui generis. She kind of popped into being like she knew who she was already. And so it's just been so much fun. So you get to play with that aunt and nephew dynamic that's so much fun. And you get to have kind of the Marple elements of a nosy older woman poking into everybody's business and unearthing secrets. And you get to kind of reinvent things like the locked room mystery. Like, instead of finding a body at the start of the first book, Dorothy finds herself in the wrong body.
Right.
And so what's gone wrong? How has that happened? And she has to try and figure out whose body this is and why she ended up in it when she was supposed to be kind of resting in the library where they store memories on board this ship.
Yeah, it's a fun story, and your character dynamics are great. The fact that her nephew pretty much figures out who she is really fast was lots of fun. But let's go on to Nobody's Baby without spoiling the first one. What can you tell us about the new one?
So the sequel came about because there were just too many questions I had and fun problems I came up with that didn't fit in book one. And one of those was, we're on this ship. It's deep space, so we decided fertility's just on pause till we get where we're going. Nobody's supposed to be having children. What would they do if a baby showed up? How would it get there? How do you deal with it? Who does it belong to? All of these very classic murder mystery kind of questions. Plus, you get to play with that classic story element of the mystery baby in a basket on the doorstep, and, you know, all of that fun kind of almost fairy tale aspect. But when I was writing this, I was really thinking of it as, it's like Alien, only instead of a face hugger, it's a human child.
Oh, God. Yeah. That is one way to look at it, I suppose. Yeah. But I have so many questions for you. For the sake of the podcast people, Olivia and I, we've been talking for like 15 minutes already and trying to remember, okay, we shouldn't keep talking about this because we got to talk about it on the show. But, beginnings are hard for me. I often don't know where in the story to do it. And then once I settle on something, I'm not sure if I've got the hook right. So I want to read, if you don't mind, your first sentence/paragraph of Nobody's Baby. Ruthie arrived at breakfast with no preamble, flashing on the glowing face of my pocket watch. At what age do human children grow teeth? And you've got, I feel like a hook's got to have some grounding. And also, what the hell is going on here? Bits of it. So is this something that comes naturally to you, or did you, was that did that come about from lots of rewriting?
This was definitely one of those much tweaked and brute forced kind of things where you just have to throw a bunch of things at the wall until you kind of, zero in on what on the target you're trying to hit. So I knew with this one that one of the fun things is making this child feel shocking and a little bit horrifying and unsettling, even though it's a baby. He's not going to hurt anybody, right? It's just that it's been hundreds of years since anybody's seen one. And so it kind of upends all of these social questions no, we don't even have adoption here because nobody needs adopting for 300 years.
Yeah, you probably don't have diapers either.
Nope. No, we have to print some of those right out. And we have to, how do you feed a baby who even remembers how to make formula? Like things like that.
Yeah.
And that gets taken care of because Dorothy remembers raising Ruthie when he was younger. But I really wanted to foreground that kind of unsettling thing. So you have to disrupt the reader's relationship to, you can't just show them a baby. Because most people who are not psychopaths see a baby and they're like, oh, yes, adorable, fun, protect the kid, like the very natural kind of protective reaction needed to be upset from the very first. So how do you make a baby sound like a horror monster? You start talking about the teeth. And you talk about it growing teeth and changing. And you're like, the secondary aspect is, why do people want to know about babies' teeth? Like, that's never anything that you really want to, like, talk about either.
Yeah, I've only heard it being brought up when someone found a skull of a baby and you saw where all the teeth were nested in the jawline. And all the adult teeth are already built in. It's a nightmare. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying.
Because one of the big secrets of this lovely, cozy sci-fi mystery series is that bodies are horrifying.
Yes.
So there's a lot of very light body horror in this. Like, your body's going to do something unpredictable. It's got secrets you don't understand. And I don't know, I think it's a good time. And we're playing with that in ways that aren't designed to create dread, that are designed to create curiosity and surprise and maybe just a little bit of horror for fun.
So these are not your first books. You've been a romance and paranormal romance writer. I was just looking at your backlog and you've got so many books, including the Gay Victorian Chicken romance that I want to read it. But I always love talking to people who've like bounced around from different genres because I wonder like what brought you to science fiction, mystery, and which do you like better? And just talk about genres. Go.
Well, I have never met a genre that I don't like, honestly. And the very first romance novel I read, I stole from my mom when I was 5. And it happened to be a sci-fi romance. So it was also the first sci-fi novel I read. It was basically, if you've seen Jupiter Ascending, it was like that, but with orgasm denial kink and like Conan the Barbarian's involved. So basically like, just a big bonkers 80s space extravaganza romance.
I thought I was hardcore for reading Stephen King when I was like 14, but you got me beat big time.
Oh no, see, I wasn't allowed to read Stephen King and I was okay with that. I am a very anxious person and Stephen King makes me feel so much dread that I just end up like putting down the book and walking away.
Yeah.
So I ended up more on the comedy sci-fi side of things, like, Douglas Adams, of course, when I was raiding all of those Walden bookshelves.
Yeah.
So I was a romance reader for as long as I've been a sci-fi fantasy reader. So I've been reading McCaffrey, I've been reading Douglas Adams, Terry Pratchett. Robert Asprin's books were really important to me as a kid. Like, it goes way back. And so for me, genre is less of a choosing one over the other and more of a, well, what kind of mood am I in right now? So there are times when I go through really intense periods where all I want to read is mysteries, and there's times where all I really want is a big, epic space opera. And I don't know, I just love it. I think there's such interesting things to be done, and especially in the spaces where genres meet.
Is this your first science fiction book? Or rather, Murder by Memory?
Murder by Memory, I think technically one of the very first thing I got published was actually a steampunk erotic romance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So technically science fiction, I think.
Yes.
But then in a later version, there's also ghosts. So who can say?
Yeah, steampunk just like kind of straddles all of the genres that it possibly can. So
yeah,
that's okay. Yeah. When you started getting published via with romance, what do you think writing those romances taught you that you brought to science fiction?
Well, the character work, first of all. Romance lives and dies based on the character work that you're doing. And you can start with an archetype and you can start with a trope that you love, like a marriage of convenience, and enemies to lovers, all that fun stuff that we love to discuss. But it only really works if the people are interesting enough to keep you there. Like, the skeleton of a romance is really easy to come up with and people play around with it all the time. But really, really fleshing it out and making one feel real takes a lot of work and practice. And so when I come to sci-fi, it's really easy to keep in touch with, well, what are these people feeling about things? How does that affect the plot? How do these feelings change over the course of the story? And it keeps you really grounded in the character work, so you're not getting just caught up in like the sparkly, fun, fancy retro tech of it all.
Mm-hmm. Told me about 2 other books you're working on that you're coming out. Can you tell us about those?
Well, the second one's still a mystery.
Okay.
It was one of those unidentified book number 2 kind of things.
Yeah.
And then the first one is coming. We're about to start edits, and it's coming out next summer, so June. And it's a full-length prohibition paranormal romance.
Oh, nice.
So they'll probably brand it as like romantasy because everybody's doing that these days. But it's very much. I wrote a paranormal at the time when nobody was buying paranormals, just because it was the book of my heart. And it's set in Seattle in 1931. And so it's a slightly different prohibition than what you see in New York or Chicago. And it was just so much fun. And so it's got a bard who's a piano player at this monster speakeasy. And he meets a siren journalist, and there's Selkies who are doing the rum running up to Canada. And it's just a good time. And there's a little bit of a mystery in it. So I was like trying to write all 3 genres at once because I like the way the shapes fit, and it feels really, when you can get them all locked together, it's like one of those the little star-shaped wooden puzzle blocks.
Oh, the tangrams.
Not the tangrams, the 3-dimensional ones.
Okay.
I love a tangram a lot. But the 3-dimensional star ones that you have to learn how to put together and take apart.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. When everything kind of slots into place and it feels organic yet mathematical and beautiful. That's cool. That's kind of always what I'm shooting for.
Excellent. What would you find your favorite trope with romance? And why do we only have, it feels like romance has the most easily defined tropes that are now used in marketing when people often say that they wouldn't like the tropey romances, but, they would. If you stopped doing it, they'd mind. But anyway, your favorite trope?
I think, for me, marriage of convenience and all of the variations on it, like any kind of, these 2 people have to work together for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I always find that really interesting. One great example with a sci-fi bent, Everina Maxwell's Ocean's Echo.
Okay. It's
an MM sci-fi romance, and the premise is it's this, it's space empire, and the space empire's at war, as they often are. And so one of the heroes is in the military, but one of the problems that this empire has is pilots need to be mentally bonded. So there's a telepathic link that they have to establish with the pilot in order for the ship to be able to fly. It's something about, wormhole space. I think Bujold does something similar in the Vorkosigan series. But these 2 heroes, so the first hero is in the military and ends up unwillingly bonding a pilot who's been blackmailed into this. He doesn't choose to accept this telepathic bond. He's been forced into it. And so the power dynamics at play are very difficult, but then they end up on the enemy's side, where they think this pilot is something of a hero. And now our military hero is a prisoner, and just the way those dynamics are both internal and external, and the writing is gorgeous. And it's really, I'm not doing it justice in my description. It's one of the most incredible sci-fi romances I've ever read. And, that mix, that perfect balance of they're doing all of the sci-fi things and they're doing all of the romance things, and those things are inextricable from each other. You can't take either of them out without destroying the story.
Right.
And it's such a rush.
Well, that's when the genre's working. If you can just lift it out and still have a story, then you're not really doing a good job of writing that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had a murder mystery on a ship story, and my mentor read it and a very early draft, and he's like, could you take them out of this spaceship and put them in a hotel and nothing else would change? And I'm like, maybe. So I had to throw in a little bit more SF just to make that work.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite writing in, or do you just love them all? Like all the children are special.
Do I have a favorite?
Genre. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, no.
To read to write.
I'm always. I don't think I've ever been able to avoid writing a romance into something.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is a very slow build romance that's happening in Dorothy Gentleman. People haven't seen a lot of it yet. There's been hints in book 1. We're going to get some stronger indications in book 2, and then book 3 brings things to a slightly more concrete resolution.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just, I love the way that romance gives momentum to a story. I love writing the way that a romance changes people.
Yeah.
Plus, the nature of romance is a slightly different genre than like mystery or sci-fi.
What do you mean the nature?
Well, because it's about people. Like sci-fi is asking a question about the world, and mystery is asking a question about what justice looks like, and romance is asking a question about people. And those aren't quite the same questions, those three. And so you have to like structure how you include them slightly differently. And it's just such a fun little, my brain thinks in puzzles a lot. And so these are always just really fun puzzles for me to solve. And it just takes however long a story needs to solve them.
Right.
So with sci-fi romance, you get the setting and then the emotional journey within the setting that couldn't happen anyplace else. Like you say, like if you could move it from a ship to a hotel, it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes all you need is just that suggestion of enclosure. Like there are some stories where it doesn't matter if they're on a ship or a hotel, but we're still here for the story. Yeah. But with sci-fi, the setting really is kind of, it's part of the fun of the game. And so if you're not really using it to its full extent, then you're not playing all 45 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Is how I think of it.
Okay. So we often advise writers, especially newer writers, to read widely outside their genre. But would you recommend they write outside of their genre as just working on craft?
Yes. I mean, absolutely. When I was just starting out, I wasn't sure what kind of writer I was going to be because I liked so many things. So I was trying everything. I did flash fiction. I did romance. I did wild, like just bonkers sci-fi premises. I did National Novel Writing Month and I didn't know where I was going with any of it. I was just, it's like when you're new, you don't know what you have to learn. And the only way to learn what you can do is to try to do it.
Yeah.
Especially with writing. It's really hard and everybody does it a little bit differently. And every book is a little bit different. So it feels like I have to figure out how to write a book every time I sit down to write a different book.
Yeah, I get that too. I don't like it.
No, I'm like, I thought I figured this out, but no luck. So I do think occasionally stretching, and even something small, like just shifting the POV slightly or shifting the time period slightly, can feel like a stretch. When I switched from writing romance to writing sci-fi briefly for the Dorothy Gentleman series, one of the things I was excited about was if I do get to a sex scene, I'm like, oh, I can bang this out in like 2 sentences. I can do 2 elegant sentences. People know what's happened and we can move on. Whereas in romance, there's this expectation that, oh yeah, we're going to linger here for a while and this is going to be important and it's going to matter. But when you've written like 10 romance novels, some of which were during the erotic romance boom, so they're very on the steamy end of things. And I'm like, I'm a little bit sick of sex scenes sometimes. And so this time I didn't have to worry about that. I'm like, oh, we can do the sci-fi type of sex scene instead of the romance type of sex scene. And it felt like I was getting to like give an overworked muscle a rest, to use an unfortunate metaphor.
Yeah, we're not going to delve into that metaphor. I just find romance very difficult. I don't know. I don't know if it's like I'm embarrassed or I feel like everything is too on the nose.
Yeah. You really have to push through the cringe when you're writing romance. You have to say, somebody's going to find this embarrassing and do it anyway.
Yeah. But it's like I read other people's stuff and I don't say that's on the nose or that's too cringe. But when I think about it and write it, I'm like, no, that's terrible. Let's run back to friendship and stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to flex that muscle myself. We just went back to the muscle metaphor. I'm very sorry.
It's hard. I mean, writing romance is extremely hard.
Yeah.
You don't get any shortcuts. You have to figure out a way for one character to say, I love you in a way that doesn't feel boring.
Mm-hmm.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
You have to feel like they mean it and the reader has to kind of feel it.
Yeah.
And you can't just do it. You can't just be like, I love you, he said, and she didn't believe him. Like, although now that I say that out loud, God, I want to start a book like that.
Yeah. Now you're doing you're just giving yourself more things to write.
More work. There's a very famous opening line from Lucy Parker's contemporary romance Act Like It. And it's every evening at 7 p.m., Lainey kissed her ex-boyfriend on the mouth. And it's because they're starring in a play together in London's West End.
Ah.
But, it's this wonderful, little moment of, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. This is terrible. And you get that sense of wrongness. But you want to find out why it's wrong. So if you were talking about hooks, and that's one way to do it, is just flat out say what's happening and let people be curious as to how we got here.
Yeah. You have, you're not doing a book tour, but you do have 2 book events starting next week, right? You've got your launch in Seattle. That's always a weird thing for me. So tell me about what you expect out of the book launch and what you're hoping for.
Oh, well, I love a book event. I spent 10 years working in bookstores. So going to a bookstore and talking to people about books feels like coming home. And almost literally in this case, Charlie's Queer Books in Fremont is just literally, I could throw a baseball from that bookstore and hit the apartment I used to live in.
Oh, wow.
So it's really exciting to go back to the neighborhood to see what's different. You always get that sense of the memories you have not quite matching the map that you're looking at, which is so interesting for a writer to see. But it's fun to talk to people. It's fun to see people excited for the book. I listened to a lot of author events as a bookseller. So I don't tend to do readings because, the book's right there. You're going to have your relationship with that book. That's not why I'm here. So I like things like this where you talk about the process and you talk about the research involved sometimes and just how you envision a story and how you envision the kind of imagination that it takes to create fiction. It's just, I don't know, it's endlessly fascinating to me. And I love talking to people about it. And I love when people are excited. And you get a lot of writers who come to events like this because they're looking for hope. I used to go to book events and hope that they would give some advice to new writers. And now as an author, I get people asking for advice. And it's like the most exciting thing. I light up every time and I'm like, listen, let me tell you, you can absolutely do this. I know this for a fact. I know nothing else about you, but if you want to do this, that means you can do it. Mm-hmm.
If you're just joining us, as Ian is, I'm with Olivia Waite, talking about the new book, Nobody's Baby, coming out next week on the 10th. We do have a question from the chat, which is, what is your writing process?
Oh, I am a plotter. I love having an outline. I find that instead of writing a big, sprawling, confused first draft, if I write a synopsis first, so that I know what the shape of the story is, then when I sit down to write, it feels like fun. Because now I'm just wondering the best way to present this scene. I'm not trying to figure out what's happening here. So I write out the synopsis like I'm telling the story to a friend or an editor. And then, so I know what the emotional stakes are. I know what the overall scope is. And then when I sit down, it's whose perspective? Can I make a funny joke? What am I going to describe? Is there a setting that I need to bring in? Like, how much time can I telescope in or out? And all of those are really, really fun things for me as a writer. And so So I usually start with some pretty in-depth research and plotting, and then when I sit down, and something always changes between the synopsis and the final draft. Like, it's just the nature of the thing. It gets away from you, and characters make decisions you didn't anticipate. So occasionally I have to rewrite the synopsis.
Yeah.
But I find that starting with something concrete helps me.
How long are your synopses usually?
About, I'd say for a full-length book, it's about anywhere from 3 to 7 pages.
Wow.
And they're very loose synopses. It's like, and then, for some reason, this person decides X. And then I'm like, okay, well, I know I need a reason in there.
And then a battle happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there is a terrible battle, and that battle might be 40 pages in the final manuscript, but you don't need to put that in the synopsis. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything cool that happens if I'm writing a synopsis. And the cool stuff only happens once I start writing, which means I do have large, sprawling drafts, and I'm trying to not do that, but I don't know how to stop it, and I may have to just embrace it as my process and move forward knowing that there's going to be a big sprawling mess at the end and I need to clean it up. So I need to take time in my deadline to clean it up, which is really hard because once I'm done, I think I'm done.
I think I find the time planning so stressful that it short circuits any creativity that I have.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at a draft that I feel is too big and sprawling and a mess, my instinct is, well, this is unfixable. Nobody will ever want this. I need to start fresh with something else. And so for me, the big sprawling draft actually gets in the way of all the fun parts.
Oh gosh.
And I do love editing, but the prospect of editing 100,000 words, makes me want to shrivel up and die a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be doing that next week, but
hooray. So you've had, how long has your career gone with all of your different genres?
Oh, I was first published in 2010.
Okay.
So it's been 16 years.
Can you tell me anything that you regretted from early on that you would encourage people not to do or to do that you didn't do?
Well, so when I started, self-publishing wasn't quite the thing that it was. And it gives you options. There are times, and many authors will tell you this, there are times I think I got published too early. I learned a lot as a professional writer, and I don't think I'd have been able to learn it if I hadn't started as early as I did. But I signed some contracts that weren't great. So read the fine print and have a lawyer read the fine print. I know it sounds expensive, but it's always worth it.
Yeah.
It's better to have no contract than a bad contract. It's better to have no agent than a bad agent.
Yes.
I've seen too many authors get screwed by those things over and over. I've had a publisher that went out of business that was trying to take all the authors' rights down with them.
Ooh.
We paid a lawyer to write a very stern letter and got the rights to all of my backlist back.
That's good.
So self-publishing can be wonderful. It doesn't have to be as intensive. Everybody will tell you you're going to buy ads, you've got to get good covers, you've got to do editing, that's useful. But also, if you want to test the process, you can just write something short that you like, make a quick, simple cover for it, put it up just to see what the process is like. You don't have to, manage your newsletter analytics within an inch of their life. You don't have to constantly gamify sales windows and all of that stuff. With self-publishing, you can do exactly as much or as little as you want. And that can be very freeing, but also if you do it too soon, then sometimes you'll miss out on some other parts of the process. This is not very actionable advice. I think what I'm trying to say boils down to this. Take your time. There's no rush. The audience will be here whenever your story is ready.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like it. Is there anything you want to talk about that I haven't touched on?
I actually want to bring up Station Eternity because I've been reading that.
Okay.
I've been saving these books for as part of my break glass emergency, nothing else is working kind of things. And so with this podcast, I finally had an excuse to break glass. So, I hit the part in Station Eternity where they're doing the spacewalk to retrieve I guess mild spoilers, they're retrieving some bodies. Things have gone wrong. And there's this moment when Mallory is stretched out with just the tether connecting her to the ship, and she's surrounded by the blackness of space and these corpses she's trying to retrieve. And I thought, yes, this is what a sci-fi mystery is for. You want that tether, you want that sense of connection, but you also want to be kind of out in the void. And you have these items that you're trying to collect and make sense of.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like exactly the kind of that balance between mystery and sci-fi. You're trying to put these pieces into a story that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that's everything I always want a sci-fi mystery to do, is exactly that kind of moment and that kind of image in my head.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I wrote a metaphor, it looks like. Well, thank you. Yeah, I love space murder. I have a problem where I have trouble writing real world stories. I don't get interested until I throw something speculative in there. Like I'd had this idea for someone who actually talking about the fact that you would not want to hang out with somebody who, when people die around them all the time.
Yeah.
So I had this idea for this pariah for a long time, but it wasn't until I thought, and then she goes to space like Babylon 5 that like the book came.
Yeah.
So, I have wanted to write some contemporary, contemporary romance. Tried to write a Christmas romance that got real sci-fi real fast. So
there's a tradition of that. I mean, Connie Willis is right there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could not even dream to be close to any of hers, but yeah, it's sometimes I feel like it's a crutch and sometimes I'm like, well, no, maybe that's just how I am. I'm just going to always want to put something that I find interesting in there.
Well, and you have to. You can't write a book you're not interested in as an author. You cannot physically do it. It's the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple of times and it just wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
With that first publisher who went out of business, they were hinting that what they wanted from me next was a billionaire romance. And I really wanted the opposite of that in every way. So I was going to write a fake billionaire romance where it's the billionaire's apartment cleaner who accidentally gets locked in the sex dungeon with the sex dungeon builder. And so that was my way of saying locked, like, so the title was going to be like Trapped in the Billionaire's Sex Dungeon. And they would not look past the title, but it was really going to be about like the carpenter and the housemaid.
Please write this.
I know I still think about it like a lot. Mean, because I have trouble with a lot of contemporary things unless they involve some kind of like interesting job or research or so like when I think about a contemporary, it's like, okay, and this heroine is a pilot and, things like that, really specific fields that have a lot of material in them.
Yeah.
Or it's in an entirely, like when I do write realistic fiction, it's like, and we're in 1820 because that's interesting.
So tell us where we can find you online.
Well, I'm always at my website, oliviawaite.com. These days, I'm also on Blue Sky quite a bit, which is also oliviawaite.com. Okay. There's a newsletter called The Oliviary, which you can find on Button Down. And that's most of it. I have an Instagram that I mostly post garden photos on and like, hey, I knitted a shawl. Ooh, speaking of.
Right.
There is actually a shawl pattern. Violet's fern shawl from Murder by Memory is going to be an actual pattern. And it will be up by Tuesday, I promise.
Wow.
Deadline. And I have spent months beating my head against my own requirements for this pattern. And
did you make it or did you have someone do it?
So I wrote the pattern. I created the shawl, all that stuff. It's a beautiful brioche. It looks like a curling woodland fern.
Wow.
Yeah. Writing patterns is extremely hard.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And I knew that, and this one had some extra challenges that I can't talk about yet. But we'll find more out about that in book 3.
Wow. Okay. Well, we've got a lot of crafters who are into sci-fi. And Underpope says, I could ask my wife to create knitting patterns based on my fiction. Yes, you could, Underpope.
Yes, please do. Everybody loves that. I would knit those.
I asked the chat if they had any other questions, and I got, can Olivia talk to us for another hour? This has been such a great conversation.
Oh, Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal Breyer, but we might need a little bit more direction than that. But, I'd love to have you back with book 3 or when your other book comes out.
Book 3 should be in March, and then the other one is June, I believe.
Wow. Okay. You got a big year coming up.
It is. It's going to be exciting. Yeah, this the Prohibition Paranormal is actually one of the very first full-length things that I wrote. It's wildly different than it was. It was just the first thing that I kind of threw my brain against full length.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sat in a drawer for 4 years, and then I was thinking about it and I didn't pull it out.
For the chat, and you guys should be writing. Thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing, the longest running writing podcast in existence. This episode was made possible by the Fabulous, who support the podcast via Patreon or Substack. Join the Fabulous at patreon.com/mightymur or mightymur.substack.com. Theme music provided by John Anelio. Art provided by Numbers Ninja, and podcast hosting provided by Libsyn. This episode is released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 license. You can find all of my books and podcasts at merverse.com.
I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft, but I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who. I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.